Hi. Why do so many people hate country music? Is it because of the vocal style or accent? The whining and complaining lyrical content? The music being associated with a particular lifestyle? People disliking the formula of country music? Country music not being musically complex or interesting? Country music reinforcing gender stereotypes? Being associated with negativity? Being too pop influenced? Or alternatively, people can only identify with it if it's pop country? Or maybe country music doesn't encourage innovation. Now, none of these are particularly opinions that I have. That all came from a simple Google search, just asking, why do people hate country music so much? This is a question I've been thinking about, and I feel like there are obvious answers if, like, for example, I listen to mostly pop music, so I have my own ideas of what I think country music is. I listened to some country music as a kid. My parents will still put on, like, country music radio. So I'm a little familiar with it, and I don't hate country music, but it's also not my first choice. I remember when I was starting college a couple years ago and everyone was like, here's a little bit about me to like get to know each other. Everyone would mention their taste in music, and the amount of times I saw someone say, I like all music except country, which I could get into an entire separate video about how you're lying if you say you like all music. Just tell me like your top 5 artists and that'll tell me so much about you. But I found it interesting how so many people said all music except country. Now, why am I making this video right now? I was going to post this video a week ago on the day of the inauguration here in America because there are a couple notable artists that performed. Sorry, I have pictures. I have a PowerPoint over here, but last time I don't think it looked that good on camera, so it's going to be over here. There's a country man. I don't remember his name. Is it Jason Aldean? I'm going to have to Google it real quick. But I personally was like a little surprised when Carrie Underwood was announced to be performing at the inauguration or inauguration related events. I know there were lots of different events. People performed at different things. But for the purposes of this video, I'm just referring to all of them as inauguration performers. Sorry, there's just an article about Carrie Underwood's streaming numbers tumbling. It is Jason Aldean. Okay, that name was vaguely in my head, but I didn't want to loop him into this if he's not affiliated. Also, Billy Ray Cyrus, which I know might sting for those of us that grew up watching Hannah Montana, and Rascal Flatts, who, correct me if I'm wrong, I should have researched this beforehand, but I recall reading that they had broken up. So I assume they reunited for this performance or not long before this performance. I feel like a lot of people have this idea that country music is just like, I don't know, offensive. There were quite a few country music artists that performed at the inauguration, events related to the inauguration, but I'm curious as to why is it exactly country music that gets lumped in with this particular set of beliefs, lifestyle? Why does everyone hate country music? So as of the week of the inauguration, when I was making this PowerPoint, so the week of January 18th, 2025, I looked at the Billboard Hot 100, and in the top 10, there were 3 country songs. At number 2 was a bar song, Tipsy by Shaboozey. At number 4 is Smile by Morgan Wallen. And at number 9 was I Had Some Help by Post Malone and Morgan Wallen. I am going to grab my phone over here and look up the lyrics of some of these because, like, some of the stuff that I mentioned in the beginning, a lot of people may not relate to the content of these songs. I know a bar song has gotten very popular. I've heard bits of it. I'm not personally a fan, but I know I'm on Lyric Genius. Interpolation of the 2004 song Tipsy. So now I'm going to do the most boring lukewarm reading of these lyrics just to simply read what's going on. Verse 1, my baby want a Birkin. She's been telling me all night long. Gasoline and groceries, the list goes on and on. This 9 to 5 ain't working. Why the hell do I work so hard? I can't worry about my problems. I can't take them when I'm gone. So starting off, we already have I feel like it's a common trope or lyrical theme in country songs of like living in a small town, working your 9 to 5, like getting by. So far it's already definitely tapping into that. Later on it says two-stepping on the table, she don't need a dance floor. Two-stepping, that's also, I believe that's a reference to like country line dancing. So again, it's tapping into that lifestyle. Right before the chorus, oh my good lord, a reference to God. I feel like country music is also typically known for being associated with like Christian faith. And I'm using that as an umbrella term. I don't know much about religion. And then it talks about drinking. I mean, whiskey, Jack Daniels, getting tipsy. So for part of this, I looked up the definition of country music because, like, what even is it? Because I know a lot of people my age that have, like, similar viewpoints to me tend to just think of, like, country artists as racist white people, and country music is, like, boring. Like, she thinks my tractor is sexy and we're in a cornfield and it's a chicken fried night, which there are songs like that. Most of those I'm pulling from titles I've heard. And obviously there's no issue with songs like that, but I know, like, me personally, I can't relate to that whatsoever. The definition of country music, because I know you've been dying to know, is music derived from or imitating the folk style of the southern US or of the western cowboy. Especially popular vocal music characterized by simple harmonies, accompaniment by stringed instruments, repeated choruses, and often narrative lyrics. So from that definition alone, I feel like country music is really just like simple, and I don't mean that in a bad way. Like, I know some of the reasons I found online about people not liking it were like they don't like the structure or things like that. I know there's a quote, give me 2 chords and the truth, and that's like a thing in country music. And I think that on its own is fine. I mean, just like some raw instruments and lyrics straight from your heart repeating the chorus. When I read something like that, I think more of like Dolly Parton's music, where it just like feels straight from the heart and so genuine. And I mean, like, everyone likes Dolly Parton's music. I think that's safe to say. Okay, so the Country Music Awards were not too long ago, and if you're watching this video, I feel like you're probably aware that Beyonce not only released a country album, although she referred to it as a Beyonce album, which I think is amazing, because she knew what would happen, which is she got snubbed entirely, which is very interesting because it seems that that same award show welcomed Post Malone, who had just started dipping his toe into country music, and also Shabuzi, who I believe is also starting in country music, or if not, is a black man in country music, which obviously a lot of country music is dominated by white people, white men and women. It is no secret that people of color, queer people, especially women of color, tend to be excluded from this. Like, if I try to write down every country artist's name that I can think of, it's almost entirely white people. You can even look back to when Old Town Road got really popular. That's a country influenced song. Obviously it has like some more like trap rap style like mixed in with it, but there's a big part of it that is country influence. And similarly to Beyonce, Lil Nas X did not really get recognition for that. As we know now, he's an openly gay black man. So I feel like part of the reason why country music really gets the bad rep that it does is that we see these groups of people being excluded from the mainstream when it feels like pop music is more welcoming, which I could make a whole other video about pop music excluding people or having its own issues. The music industry as a whole, like, obviously has so many issues. There are lots of underrepresented people in the music industry, but I personally, when I turn on a country music award show, or if my parents are listening to country radio, I know that these artists are almost entirely, if not entirely, white people. And so I also understand that point from earlier about how it doesn't really encourage or allow innovation. However, when I was talking about the definition of country music just a second ago, it had a point, because if that to you sounds good, like if you do listen to artists like Dolly Parton and you think like, oh, I do like this style of music. Like if your issue is more with the most popular mainstream country artists, or those songs, those lyrics not resonating with you, but you like the style of music, I promise there's a country artist out there for you. They just might not be getting mainstream radio plays, but that's one of the amazing things about streaming in like the time that we're living in. Although the market might be oversaturated, that also means women of color, queer people, queer women and men, non-binary people, so many different people can make any kind of music that they want. Heck, Keith Urban is Australian, and even though I believe country music originated in the southern US, it has fan bases across the world. Otherwise, how would these country artists have world tours? So it can reach a lot of different people. And just because, like, again, the most popular songs might be like Chicken Fried Night, and you're like, that doesn't resonate with me whatsoever. I understand that, and I'm not trying to make you get into country music. I don't plan on listening to much more country music after this. While researching this video, I did find out about a lot of LGBTQ plus country artists that I'm at least familiarizing myself with, like the group Lavender Country. I didn't even know they were a group that existed until I was doing research for this video, but they've been releasing music since the 70s. Right now on screen, I'll put a couple different artists that I found while researching this video. Honestly, if you just do like a quick Google search of like women of color in country music, LGBTQ plus people in country music, I came across lots of articles and lists about more lesser known artists within country music. I feel like Beyonce really did kind of shed some light on that area of things. Hence why she collaborated with so many different people on her album, like on her version of Blackbird. If you like the idea of country music, you just don't like mainstream country music, I highly encourage you to look more into it, because even some people in country music who aren't openly queer are good allies. I mean, Kelsey Ballerini at, I believe, the Country Music Awards brought drag queens on stage with her to perform, which is huge because it's not just her concert. Like, it's in front of her peers, many of which who are probably perpetuating these stereotypes and generalizations in country music that so many people are drawn away from. So I think that's incredible. Casey Musgraves, of course, so many people love her regardless of genres. She's been a guest judge on Drag Race. We have queer artists like Orville Peck, Trixie Mattel, Brandy Carlisle. I promise there is something for you. And it's definitely made me less afraid of country music, because honestly, I was definitely shying away from listening to country music. I definitely have tapped into that whole like, oh, it's embarrassing to listen to country music, or like, because again, I just think of these like stereotypes or very like common tropes in country songs, and I know I'm not gonna like that. I'm not gonna relate to like when you break up in a small town. I worked at a Texas Roadhouse once, so I heard a lot of country music, and it's like the same, like, I don't know, 50 songs that play a lot. I was a host for one summer, so I know a lot of these like popular ones just off the top of my head at this point. But even when I was working there for a summer, I wasn't like miserable with the music. Like, some of the songs certainly were not my cup of tea, or I didn't relate to the material, but it's still music. So like, even if you don't like country music, there's probably at least one country song that you like. And I just think that it's important, especially in these times, tying everything back to America right now, which feels kind of bleak, or at least has in the past couple weeks for me personally. Part of the way I haven't been posting, I've just, for the past couple weeks, always constantly either been mentally and or physically unwell. And I know that it's scary times for a lot of people. I'm trans, so I'm nervous about that, but obviously, like, there's so many things to be concerned about right now. So I think it's important always, but especially right now, I feel like it's a good reminder to uplift voices who don't have the same access that like a Carrie Underwood would have, or Taylor Swift, who started in country music, or any of these country artists who have a big platform and either don't use it or use it to promote something that their fans don't necessarily agree with. So yeah, I feel like I've just kind of getting repetitive at this point. So yeah, maybe be open to listening to different kinds of music and support those that, if country music really is this kind of close-minded genre that we believe it all to be, showing your support for these smaller artists who are incredibly talented, but in this genre, you don't see a lot of people like them, unfortunately. Giving them that boost and giving them your attention will make a big difference. I feel like art is one of the most powerful weapons we have at this point. I mean, making art in scary times can give people a lot of hope. For the artist personally, it can help you cope with things, even if it's not something you release. So this is just my big roundabout way of saying there are people like you out there. And yeah, just support each other. Yeah, I think that's all. Thank you for watching. Yeehaw.